Hey there, I'm Brittany Schroeder, and business and marketing are my jam. I'm here to walk you step by step through this crazy thing we call business. I'm a small town girl, chocolate eating, Diet Coke drinking mom, marketing guru, automation Jedi, and all around good time. This is your weekly dose of all things business and life, sprinkled with some fun. This is the Redefine Business Podcast. Welcome to another episode of Redefine Business Podcast. I am excited for our guest today. On the show today, we have Sergio Nazzaro, and he is a performance and relationship coach. And he is here to give us all of the deets and all of the things to be successful in your business and in your life. So Sergio, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Brittany. It's good to be here.
Awesome. Sergio, I feel like I should call you Serge. Like I have a friend named Sergio and I'm always like, hey, Serge. So anyway, if that slips out.
People call that to me all the time.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Sergio, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are now and why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah. So I kind of fast forward, I had to go to the Air Force Academy because my parents couldn't afford college. We grew up pretty poor. Served my country for 11 and a half years, which kind of culminated in a tour to Afghanistan. And I like to say that's kind of like when shit hit the fan in my life, right? Came back struggling with PTSD, substance abuse. I was just identity crisis because I was getting out and I was lost. And eventually I found my way to being an entrepreneur. And I pulled myself out of a ton of debt, had started to have a lot of success. And then a few things happened. I had to call off my wedding with my fiance. She's my wife now. Don't worry, all worked out. I had a heart attack at the age of 34.
Wow.
And all of these things started to happen. What I realized is I was this, professional success and this personal failure. And it was in that moment that I started to look back and realize like, oh, I'm not the only one who feels this way. And so that's when I stepped into, really solidifying my role as a coach. And I was like, listen, I know other people are struggling with this. Let's get all areas of your life on fire so that your business becomes a lot easier and you can stop tripping yourself up. Yeah.
And first of all, thank you for your service. But the second part is, I love what you said, like a little bit earlier before we hit record, as we were talking, like they're all kind of intertwined, we always say like, oh, I need balance. And sometimes I feel like balance, like it's not such a thing, but I do believe like you have to have harmony in like, you have to have peace and harmony in different parts of your business. I mean, not your business, not just your business, but your life, because they're also intertwined, you can be killing it in your business, but then you're struggling in your life. You know what I mean? So talk a little bit more about that for my listeners.
Yeah. I love that you said that balance isn't a thing. I believe the same thing. It's this interconnected harmony that we're looking to find, because balance is truly stagnation, right? If you're in balance, it's stagnant. Mm-hmm. And so everything impacts everything else, right? A fight at home with your spouse, you might be able to compartmentalize that, but the energy that you're going to show up with in a business meeting is going to be something that the other people are going to feel. They may not understand why they don't want to work with you, but it's because there's some unresolved stuff there. And also, if you just feel like shit and you don't like the way you look, there's not going to be that level of confidence that is required when somebody's like, is this person going to be able to lead me to where I want to go when they can't even lead themselves? Yeah. And so there's all of these things that are interconnected. And a lot of people are good with one, maybe two. Mm-hmm. And it's usually business and fitness. Mm-hmm. Those are the two that are really good. And then everything else starts to suffer. And the reality is, I've seen a lot of people come to the point where their business is crushing it, but then they get divorced and everything's cut in half and their kids hate them. Then all of a sudden their health goes to shit and they're living in an apartment by themselves. And it's like, well, how did we get here? And I'm like, hey, knucklehead, you saw this coming the whole time. You just chose to ignore it. Yeah.
Well, and I think too, when you get to that point where things are crumbling, then your business starts to struggle, because then you're consumed with, you're consumed with that problem. You're consumed with like, okay, this is like really bogging me down. You took it for granted. And then when it starts to crumble, then you struggle in all aspects of your life. I mean, I know for myself, when I'm going through personal stuff, it consumes me. And so I just like focus, like we all have these focus issues, but it's like, when you can, like when you're good and you have harmony and you have these like solid, good relationships, then it's so much easier. Life is just easier because you're not distracted by this like contention or negativity.
Yeah. And there's this part where it's like, well, it's so hard to do all the work to get all these moving in the right direction. I was like, wait until they all go to shit.
Yeah.
Wait till it's all at zero. Like that's the actual work. So is it an investment? Yeah. Is getting everything kind of elevated and starting moving in the right direction hard? Absolutely. But on the backside, if you don't do any of that, the recovery from that may never happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you touched on something where it's like, wait till it goes bad. And then you have to dig yourself out of it. And I think that we always have, so I just finished reading this book from one of my friends, and she talked about like our excuses in life. Right. And I always do this one. As she always says, I always do this with my clients where it's like the two excuses are I don't have time or I don't have money. And that's a fallacy, because if it was important to us, you make time, you find money. If it was heart surgery or something like that, or you needed a car, you would figure out a way to do it. But another one she added to it that I thought was super interesting is I'm too tired. So I don't have time, I don't have money, or I'm too tired. And I'm like, that is so true. Like that is reality. But I think it's like, those are the excuses. True that those are the excuses, but false that those are reasons why you don't do something. It's because you don't make it a priority, and we have to make it a priority. It's not, it's so interesting that you said success and fitness, because fitness has always been a priority to me. So it's not like, oh, if I work out today, it's when I work out today. You know what I mean? And so, but do we make our relationships have that same priority? Like not, well, if I have time today, then I'll spend time with my kids or with my partner or whatever. Instead, it should be like, well, when I spend time with them, and you make it a priority. So I love that you said that, because that resonates with me. So
it's really all about like, what do you want in your life?
Yeah.
And every time I post that question, people start to answer, well, I don't want this. I don't want to lose my money. I don't want to lose my wife. I'm like, cool. You've just told me all the things you don't want, but what do you actually want?
Yeah.
And when we get clear on what we want, then the decisions that we make are going to align with what we want in our lives, because that is the value that we place on it.
Yeah.
There was a moment where I said that my family was the most important thing to me, but I would ignore my wife's phone calls during a business meeting, but I would pick up a client's phone call at dinner.
Yeah.
And the incongruency there was just me seeing like, I'm way out of alignment here. So when you're out of alignment, of course you're going to be tired. When you're out of alignment, you're not going to want to do the work. When you're out of alignment, you're always going to have an excuse about why you don't have the resources or the income to do it. But when you want it, or you finally see what is possible, then you'll always make the commitment, because it's aligned with what you want and your purpose.
Yeah. I love that. And that like really like hit something for me, is that people say, this is what I don't want, but instead we need to change that, like have a mindset shift where it's like, this is what I do want. Like I absolutely believe in the law of attraction. And if we're constantly saying negative things, like, I don't want this, like, it's like we're attracting that in the universe, but instead we need to be manifesting and attracting like what we do want. And so I love that. And I'm actually never really like noticed that. But when you said that, I thought, gosh, that's such an interesting like thought, where we say what we don't want, but what we really should be saying is what we do want, and take action to get what we want, instead of preventing what we don't want. So that I love that, just that mindset shift. Talk to us a little bit about, you said, you had PTSD, you had a heart attack. Like, how did those things like get you to where you are now? Like, I mean, we go through these hard things. I feel like that is really like what refines us and makes us who we are. So talk a little bit more about those things and how they got you where you're at.
Yeah, it's interesting. 90% of people that suffer from PTSD turn to drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
10% turn to therapy.
Yeah.
I chose to do the 90%. Right.
Yeah.
And I tapped into that. I did, it was just this numbing thing. And when I finally got to the point of, this just isn't going to work, I got into that 10% and went and saw professional help. And I think what's really important about that is you start to see how some of the things that have impacted your life, some of the events that you say, oh, this happened to me, they really happened for you. Not only did it happen for you, it happened from you. Like you created that shit. And so part of this is like when you can recognize that everything that has ever happened in your life, the good, the bad, the happy, the sad, all of it, it has a purpose and there is a lesson. And when you can extract that and you can start to see some of the silver lining, if you will, you're able to use that to propel you. And so for the longest time, I hid from a lot of these problems. I wasn't vocal about it. I didn't want to talk about it until I realized if I don't discuss some of the problems that I went through with PTSD, then the lessons I learned are all going to go to waste. And so I really look back on that moment. I was like, listen, this doesn't define me. It refines me. And but in that refinement of me, I'm actually revealing more of myself. But it took a moment of me being like, hey, I got to be, the military's like, oh, be tough, be tough. And I got all these tattoos. I'm the softest dude you'll ever meet on the inside. And so I just had to have that and then be open to like, well, what is here for me? And I think PTSD helped me. And then the heart attack was one of those moments where it happened and it was so out of left field that I don't know that I ever fully processed it. I was really angry about it. I was really frustrated about it. And there wasn't like anything that really, I didn't have to make like these massive changes in my life. And the only thing that came out of that was like, hey, you have another opportunity, another life. Don't waste it. And so from that point forward, it created a lot of intentionality in the way I've lived my life.
Yeah. It was like a slap in the face, like get your crap together. Like here it is. And I love that. And I think that just such a good reminder too, that, because I think I call it like the river of misery, like when you are in the depths of it, like it just sucks, but you have to remember, like you have to get in the river to get to the other shore, to get to the other side. And it's just a good reminder that like when you're in it, there's a reason that you're in it. There's a reason, like this is a fork in the road, this is a pivot, whatever it is, but you're supposed to go through that. And I think of it too, when, I try to be mindful and have awareness, but when I'm in it, when I'm in the crap, when I'm in the mud, I have to remember like, this is just a chapter in my book. And I'm in a class and this is a lesson on whatever, X, Y, and Z. And what am I learning from this? How can I turn this into a good thing? Or how can I help somebody else who is going to go through this thing? And, I can look back at my life and I can say, I went through that hard thing, but look, I've been able to help other people who have gone through that as well. I wasn't strong then, but now I'm strong and now I can help them because I've been through something similar. And you get empathy and, I always think of like, people who don't have empathy. And I think, oh, they just haven't gone through enough yet. Like they need to go through something hard so they have a little bit more compassion for other people. And so I love that you said that and how you've been able, and now you're helping other people, go through stuff that you went through. You were there, you can relate. And I think that is what makes us good coaches is like the struggle. Like I was in the struggle and I rose above and you can too. And these are the tools. Like I'm only one chapter ahead of you, but I can help you. So I love that. That's awesome. Well, tell my listeners just a little bit more about what you do, who you help, and how you help them.
Yeah, great question. So I help a lot of entrepreneurs, but also intrapreneurs, people who are in relationships, or maybe they just got a divorce and or a breakup and they're out of a relationship. They understand that where they're at in their life right now is not truly where they want to be. They know there's a possibility, but they're not awakened to that possibility. And so what I do is I wake my clients. Can I swear on your podcast?
You sure can.
Okay.
I get bleeped,
I've already been doing it. Yeah, okay.
You have. Go for it. You be you. You be you.
Okay. I appreciate you, Brittany. I wake my clients the up.
Yeah.
It's time to break the frame and the stories that you've put yourself in this little box and break that apart so that you can see what is possible. We can rebuild that frame based on what you want, and we can get you to the relationships you want, the career that you want, the connection with your creator that you want, and the body that you want at any age. The whole goal of this is for you to have it all in your life. Have it all.
I love that. That's so good. Well, awesome. Sergio, tell my listeners how they can find you. Where do you spend your time so that they can give you a follow and all of the things?
I would say Instagram and TikTok. are probably my main platforms. So Sergio.Nazzaro on both platforms. I just joined Threads yesterday. That's been pretty fun. Yeah. And then you can check out my YouTube channel at Become the Standard.
Yeah. I'm curious. I'm not on TikTok personally. My daughter is, but I'm curious to check out your TikToks and see if you're entertaining or if you're motivating or what it is. So I will have to for sure check that out. Okay. Sergio, I like to end every one of my interviews with 2 questions. So the first one is, what is your pet peeve?
Tardiness. I don't like when people don't respect my time. To the point where my mom would show up late to our coffee dates. Yeah. And finally I got to the spot. I was like, Mom, what makes your time more important than mine?
Love it.
And she goes, oh, I didn't realize it. And from that day forward, she was on time. And so that's one of my biggest things. It's like, you have to respect other people's time.
Have you always been like that? Or is that the military in you? Just curious.
I don't remember. Honestly, there was this blur before 18, but I think there was just this, it was beat into my head about the importance of it. And it honestly creates anxiety for me to a point that I probably should look into it. But I think the military definitely solidified that as a trait in me. Okay.
That's honestly one of mine. And I think I'm so protective of my time. And so when I schedule something, and my worst is doctor's offices, when I'm sitting there and I'm pretty patient up to 29 minutes. And after that, I'm like, your time is not more important than mine. This is so disrespectful. And I can't hide. I cannot fake it. And so then I'm so irritated. So I totally we're on the same page there. Yeah. Okay. Next one is, what is a simple pleasure? Something you enjoy?
I love just the silence in the morning, whether it's on a walk or sitting in my hammock up in the mountains or just meditating. There's something really special about being up before everybody else. Things are quiet. The world really hasn't woken up and you can really connect with yourself. Yeah. And it makes me want to wake up early in the morning just so that I can have that time. It's, especially in the spring when you can hear the birds, it's like nothing else.
Oh, that is simple pleasure for sure. I love it. Well, Sergio, it's been so awesome getting to know you. And so all my listeners, check out Sergio. I will put all of his links in the show notes so you can give him a follow and check out his stuff. So thanks, Sergio, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. This is wonderful.
Let's not stop the party here. Head on over to my Instagram or Facebook group, Redefine Your Business, and let me know your thoughts about today's show. I will see you again, same time, same place, next week.